Trump is already the most powerful man in the world, even though he has not been sworn in yet. He's promising to return to Washington with a team of destroyers who want to take a wrecking ball to the status quo in Washington. A lot of you agree a wrecking ball to Washington would be a very good thing. We told you about a week after Donald Trump was elected. This was the burn it all down mandate from the American people. That's exactly who he's nominated. In his press conference this morning, Trump was quick to point out that many of those political foes that he's had for so long, that have warned about him, that called him a threat to democracies, that said they were going to fight against him, well, interesting thing has happened. They've all gone silent.
In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something.
Well, shoes don't stretch and men don't change, as the country song goes. Donald Trump's personality hasn't changed, but his tone has. We've pointed this out a lot. We've told you over and over, this election showed us that America wants things torn apart. They are angry. They are trusting Donald Trump to fix it. But perhaps Trump's priority is to rebuild rather than punish, or at least to fix rather than punish. Like him or not, we often say that Trump understands the country better than most. He always seems to be one step ahead of the pulse of the country. That's because Donald Trump understands culture. Politics is downstream of culture. And the American voters, the people who gave him the mandate for change, have some clear thoughts on political retribution. New Monmouth University polling finds Americans are split about whether or not Trump is serious about his threats. 48% believe he is serious, 47% believe he's exaggerating. If he does go after his opponents, 52% would be bothered by it a lot. 22% would be bothered by it a little. Another 22% wouldn't be bothered at all. It's fascinating when you consider most TV networks talk ad nauseum about the need for preemptive pardons. They say Trump is unhinged. No one is safe. Then you listen to the president-elect in his own words.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
I have the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president. But I'm not interested in that. I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. I don't care about the revenge thing. I know they usually use the word revenge. Will there be revenge? My revenge will be success.
Revenge can mean many things to many people. Bill O'Reilly writes in his column this week out on BillO'Reilly.com, get ready for the new Justice Department to take a hard look at those who embraced impeachment, trumped up, criminal charges, and recruited deceivers to injure Donald Trump. If the equal justice tenet still means anything, well, let's see exactly who did what. Bill is with us now, host of the No Spin News on BillO'Reilly.com, author of Confronting the President. And Bill, I'm going to do this for you. It is on the New York Times bestseller list for the 13th week in a row. I'm still waiting for my royalty check from our big special that did so well to launch the book, but we'll negotiate on that later. Back to the column, although there is still time to order Confronting the Presidents for Christmas. It makes a great gift. You said in your column, hard look at those who embraced impeachment. Impeachment is political. It is not legal in that sense, or criminal charges. Do we want to criminalize now sort of politics in America?
No, and don't forget to come back to the confronting the president scenario, because Donald Trump did call me about it, about the documentary. So I want to tell you exactly how that conversation went down. So there are two prongs here. There is the political prong. This is Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, all these people. You got to leave them alone. They're entitled to their point of view. They're entitled to hold hearings. They're entitled to say bad things about anybody. But if you have people in power in the justice area, like Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, Alvin Bragg, the DA of Manhattan, Fani Willis, DA of Fulton County, Atlanta, then you have to look into those people. For example, Fani Willis sent her boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend, who she got in trouble with, up to see Jack Smith, the special counsel, apparently. That's what's been reported. Well, the Justice Department, Pam Bondi needs to know what that meeting was about. Why was a local DA in Atlanta sending her boyfriend, who was working for her, up to see a federal prosecutor? For what reason? How long did the meeting go? What was said? All of that the American people need to know, but not the political stuff.
Okay.
So there's a sharp line between holding people accountable who may be abusing their power and opinion which they're entitled to.
You said just now the American people have a right to know. There is a big difference between exposing what has gone on. I think you're right to point out these very unusual meetings. It certainly seems like Fani Willis was coordinating in one way or another her prosecution of Donald Trump with either the Justice Department or the White House. That would be probably the only reason for these meetings. The American people have a right to know. There's a difference between right to know and then what would you call it? Retribution? Justice? What would you call filing criminal charges?
Well, Trump can't file criminal charges. He has no power of enforcement or indictment. And if the Attorney General...
His Attorney General does. He just said he's the chief law enforcement officer.
She has to present evidence to a judge and a grand jury in order to get an indictment. So all that evidence has to be put forth, and that's the way our system works. We don't have a king here, and that's why we have it, by the way, because the King of England was so horrendous in the justice area and brutalized the colonists so badly that once we booted them out of here, they said, we're not going to do this again. We're gonna make sure that our leadership has checks and balances. So Trump can't enforce anything. What he can do is say to Pam Bondi, I would like to know why Fani Willis sent her boyfriend up to talk to Jack Smith. Find out.
Okay.
That's legitimate.
No, look, I think it's very legitimate to understand these things. The question, though, is where does this stop? Where does the reciprocity multiplier stop, right? Democrats impeached Donald Trump because they wanted to find something to impeach him on, certainly with the first thing when it came to Ukraine. It was sort of a laughable impeachment. Reasonable people agreed with that. Then Republicans ran and got the House of Representatives on the platform of impeaching Joe Biden, even though they knew there was no chance of getting a conviction in the Senate. It has become a political act, not the final check and balance, as the founders, as the people you wrote confronting the presidents about, some of them, envisioned. How do we end this, I push you, you shove me, I punch you, I bring a knife? That doesn't lead to the way the American government works best for the people.
Well, the voters ended, like Liz Cheney got booted right out of the House in Wyoming. They just said, no, we don't want this. We don't like you. You abuse your power in our name. And she got killed, trounced. That's how you get rid of them. So the power goes back to the people. If you elect someone and that person abuses his or her power, you boot them out. They're only in for 2 years in the House.
Okay, so you and I agree on
this. A little bit harder.
Yeah, okay, so you return the power to the people. And I love that line, to get to the people. You oftentimes talk about the folks. What's best for the folks? You write about it in your column often. Did the folks elect Donald Trump to close the border, lower crime, get back traditional values, and lower the price of eggs? Or did they elect Donald Trump to investigate what Jack Smith and Fani Willis's boyfriend talked about? What's the mandate here?
The mandate is to solve the problems that are vexing America. The MAGA people are real hardcore, right? Yeah, they want a takedown. But that's only about 25% of the Republican Party. The others want problems solved. And it was obvious that President Biden could not solve them. Clueless. I mean, I don't know whether you guys picked up on Friday, I'll release another $10 billion to the mullahs in Tehran. It's just, why would you do that? They're the biggest state-sponsored terrorism in the world, and in 4 years, Joe Biden's given them $100 billion. Why? For what? And you know what the answer is? They're going to use it for humane reasons. You know, when I think of Iran, that's the first word that comes into my mind, humane,
Yeah.
kind, compassionate government. Yeah. So $100 billion flows out of banks all over the world that was frozen because the world sanctioned Iran because of terrorism. Iran has not repudiated terrorism, has upped the ante, funds Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and everybody else. And Biden goes, "Oh, let's give him another $10 billion." And this is the incomprehensible administration that led to Donald Trump's victory. So I don't believe that the revenge factor is heavy at all in this country.
Okay.
I don't think these people are liked. I don't think most Americans like Adam Schiff, even though he won in California. I don't think they like them, but I don't think they want a witch hunt against them.
All right. Fair enough. You also very adroitly set up our D block, which is coming up at about 7:40 tonight about Iran. So thank you for that. Your predictions.
It's unbelievable.
I know. Yeah, it is. Your predictions, because you were spot on when you said Biden was not going to be on the ticket. You were right. You were the only one. Here we go. Short questions, short answers. Will at least one of Trump's political opponents be indicted by this time next year?
Yes.
Will
I think
Russia...
Fani Willis is going to go down.
Fani Willis, okay. And not only that, we got a name. Worth 2 points if you get it right. Will Russia and Ukraine agree to a peace deal by this time next year?
Yes, but it may not hold. But there will be a ceasefire, I think, fairly quickly after Trump is inaugurated.
Will Congress pass a border deal?
Easy
Okay.
one, yes. And
And
I
Trump will
just
sign
hope it's got a little more heft to it. So you've got to not only do the border, but you've got to do a new immigration law as well.
All right. Will Elon Musk still be in Trump's inner circle?
No.
No.
Elon has got space, and he's got a lot of stuff.
All right, so he's gonna move on from Doge. Will Kamala Harris run for governor of California?
So. Yes, absolutely. Setting it up now.
Will stocks be up or down compared to this year?
Well, Leland, if you know that, please call me after the program and let me know.
All right,
because I have no blanking clue.
All right, and this is a fun one, right? Because Donald Trump has had a lot of people around him for a long time. There's an inner circle that's very loyal, and there's some people who have lasted very brief periods of time. How many cabinet members will Trump have fired by this time next year?
4 or 5.
Okay.
You know, but nobody's going to be fired and humiliated like last time around.
So no Rex Tillerson fired while he's at on the toilet?
Nah, I don't see that. I don't see that. Because this time around, Donald Trump, as we have discussed before, has changed his management style.
Yep.
To top down. Everybody knows that. The only people who are going to get booted are the people who don't do what Trump and Stephen Miller tell them to do. And there should be a few of those, but I don't think there's going to be that many because everybody knows what the deal is.
Okay. All right, we have to run, but I am saving what Trump said about confronting the presidents for right before Trump's inauguration, because I think that is going to be the most poignant time to let folks know, because it is a prediction for Donald Trump's next term as the 47th president of the United States. Merry Christmas to you and yours, Bill.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for the card, Leland. And I like the crayon drawing you did of Santa. Very, very good. Thank you. Very skilled.
Thank you. You're the first person to mention...
I really appreciate being...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I really appreciate being on the program. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I think the viewers learn a lot, and it's very nice of you to put me on every week.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Thank you. Big fans of yours. I have been personally since long before we got to work together, way back when at Fox News and now here. So enjoy the new year. Lots to talk about in 2025. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.